ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Saturday night Wimbo Formula live stream. And we've got a special topic tonight. It's all about the new, fresh team principal and CEO of Red Bull Racing. And yep. So it's been a pretty quiet week, hasn't it? When it comes to Formula One news, no big shocking revelations. I heard that Carlos Sainz had successfully appealed the punishment he had in Zandvoort, which is good news. Hello, lonely cyclist. How nice of you to join. Join again. Yes, Max Verstappen is a rookie again in a GT car, much slower than the rest. But I loved how much attention there was for this whole event. Like, I just finished recording a video about Max Verstappen, how he's in control of everything. But yeah, the GT racing and is also part of it. So it's going to be interesting. Let's just chat for a couple of minutes before I start with the real content. I hope everybody who's watching can say hi in the chat for me. If there's new people coming in, I'm very curious to know where you're from and who your favorite driver is. And if you're one of the old timers, then yeah, I'll have a nice greeting for you. Fastest of all the rookies, Wim, and it was just for the license. Yeah, I know he was fastest, but I saw them racing on a straight, and all the other cars just went past him because apparently it had like a 125 horsepower less than the cars around him. I think he managed in a quali run to finish like 27th, which was very good. So, and then after the weekend, it's race week again, because we're going to Azerbaijan. I don't know if you guys read the post I made today about finally. Hey, Alexander M. Hey man, I'm from Serbia, and I've been watching F1 since the 90s. Verstappen for me is a god. I'm not young, but I feel I love Max, man. All the best to the Dutch. Well, all the best to all the people in Serbia, especially you, Alexander. And welcome to my live stream. And I hope you enjoy this live stream so you can join us every Saturday. Super. I always love seeing new people. Samantha, my wife. Can you write that down? Alexander, Serbia. Right. One more minute, and then I'm just gonna start yapping. I know Hank is coming, and I'm pretty sure more people will join in. I'm convinced. Yeah, Baku, always a great race. Nice little street track. I remember Checo always being very good there, but he's not with us. He might be there next season. So, yes. So what I wanted to talk about is that for me, Red Bull for the last 4 years hasn't been a really fun team, even though Max has had all these successes there. Like Max's 2021 championship, or the aftermath of it, was kind of ruined by um, the whole Abu Dhabi scandal sort of thing. And yeah, people were trying to diminish Max's achievements. So that wasn't fun. But I can't blame Red Bull for that. They did everything they had to do. Then in 2022, there was the budget cap scandal. Like, nobody talks about that anymore, thankfully. But that was a big scandal, and it sort of took away a bit of of shine of the 2022 season. That I felt a little bit embarrassed that Max was racing for a team that was always so controversial. Then in 2023, that actually was a perfect season. I don't remember any big scandals in 2023, although I think the setup for the internal struggles in Red Bull had started. I think before that we had like the Porsche deal that was almost through, and then that fell through because Christian Horner didn't want it. Yeah, and then in 2024, at the start of it, all hell broke loose with Christian Horner and the personal assistant and everything that followed up. And then, Max did manage to get the championship. They didn't get the constructors. But overall, it was very tiring to always having to defend the team where your favorite driver is driving for. And I feel now that Laurent Mekies is team principal and CEO of all the different departments Horner was in charge of, things have calmed down. And I've gathered all the quotes and all the bits of news about how the team has changed since Mekies took over. And yeah, that's pretty much the topic of this live stream. Here's another new. Oh, Steve Tatman. Hey, I know you from Twitter. Let me see what he says. I feel like Red Bull is becoming Max's team more and more, and week by week, post Christian Horner. Yes, well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. But also, Laurent Mekies is way more modest, and it isn't the big Christian Horner show every time you see a news article about Red Bull. And there's Henk. Hello, Henk. And there's Vegas. Vegas, nice. And who else? Tanvir. Hello, Tanvir. I haven't seen you in a while, is that right? Were you busy? The Lonely Cyclist says, Wimbo, I have become a Mekies fan. Well, I'm the same. Oh, and there's Ivan. Hello, Ivan. I'm just going to pick out a few of the... Oh, I nearly forgot. The super tanks from Mr. Vegas. Red Bull Racing is transitioning eras. The last of the party goers have left. Now a mature team will carry it forth. Yes. How to get rid of this now? I think you're right, Vegas. The whole always the rebel thing was something that Christian Horner tried to keep going, but things have changed. Like McLaren is a very serious team with loads and loads of sponsors, and I think Red Bull should be the same with a sponsor like Oracle and other big names, and you know the constant. Well, a team principal who seems to not have come out of his puberty. I don't know if that was a good look for Red Bull. And I feel with Laurent Mekies, who's very modest and technical, um, is a much better option. Um, right, I'm gonna pick out another one. And thanks for the super thanks. Okay. Hank says only Team LH mentions cost cap and still the sore losers. Well, I'm on social media a lot, and I don't see it that often anymore. Hey, Samantha is there. Hi, honey. Oh. The Lonely Cyclist is giving away 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I'm going to call out the names: Justin House, A Sleepy Pillows, Vincenzo Di Grande, Baran Hazan Ekin, and Blackout. Those are all kind of new names. I hope they get a notification and come join our live stream as well. But I love, indeed, Samantha, you're right. I love how generous everybody is here. Super, super duper. Okay. Let me go to the next bit of my content. I've prepared a little bit. I think we can already see an uptick in performance of the Red Bull team. We can see it with Max, who scored a P2 in Zandvoort and a win in Monza. And what's especially important is that Max literally said that before Mekkies, they were sort of shooting left and right to get the right setup. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But now with Mekkies, the right questions are asked, and the setup window has become bigger, and they're getting it right more often, which is very important. We can see that Yuki Tsunoda is getting a little bit better, although he is still a little unfortunate in his races. But he made it into Q3 in Monza. He made it into Q2 in Zandvoort, and before that, he was out in Q1 a lot of the time. He scored a couple of points, although Monza wasn't his strongest outing again. Having to fight Liam Lawson and then touching and getting damage. Like, if he wants to race up front, he's gonna have to overtake really fast cars as well, and you can't do that with getting damage. So, but there's definitely a completely different feel with Laurent Mekies there, and there's an uptick in performance. Qualifying has gone a lot better. Verstappen took a pole position, and Helmut Marko, he talked about how there's a new philosophy on their Mekkies, and before they were very much on the simulator, and they based all their setups on what the simulator said. And Laurent Mekies is trusting more in the drivers, and they're moving away from simulator dependent setups, and they're listening to the drivers more. What was especially nice was that Pierre Waché and Max Verstappen were at odds about what wing Max should use in Monza, and Max said, "No, I want to use that wing." And apparently Laurent Mekies said that, "Okay, I have the last word on this, and we're going with the driver." And then he dominated, which was amazing. Now, I'm not saying that that wouldn't have happened with Christian Horner, because Christian Horner also listened to Max, but you know, statistics don't lie, and um, things have improved with Mekies there. Um, Laurent Mekies was a technical engineer at Minardi. He was there at Toro Rosso. Then he went to Ferrari, so that's why Charles Leclerc has a lot of good things to say about him. And then he went back to the sister team, and now he's team principal and CEO of all the departments. Christian Horner was the boss of. Laurent Mekies is now. Um, but yeah, for some reason, they understand better what needs to be done now to get back to the top, and this is what we all want. Okay, I'm going back to the chat. See what I missed. Okay, there's a chat going on. Hank says it has a good point here. He says it looks like Max is more relaxed since Mekies has the reins, and I totally agree. I think the Verstappen camp didn't push for Horner to be kicked out, but I don't think they minded that it happened, because Jos and Christian, they were at odds anyway, and yeah. Would it have been better if it happened earlier? Yes, but better late than never, you know. Tanvir says, I mean, Red Bull Simulator are pretty good. I'll say better than other teams. Well, I also hear that there's a what do you call it? It's a big word. Discrepancy between what the car does on track and what the simulator says, and they're trying to fix that for next year. Or was that the wind tunnel? And they're starting the new wind tunnel next season. Yeah, I think it was the wind tunnel. Okay. Hank says the Monza upgrade was initiated already when Horner was in charge still. Okay. And even simulator drivers aren't as sensitive as Max is. Steve, Aston Martin used the Mercedes wind tunnel previously, and they struggled with the same problem as Mercedes, that the wind tunnel says one thing and then on track it's something completely different. But Aston Martin have started using their own wind tunnel this season, so yeah. I think things are going to change for Aston Martin as well. Okay. I'm just going to read out what I've written down here. There are improved team dynamics and internal harmony. Mekies' leadership style, described as humble, people-focused, and less dramatic than his predecessors, has fostered a more unified environment. Coming from Racing Bulls, formerly AlphaTauri, where he was team principal since 2024, Mekies has prioritized listening to staff and drivers, reducing internal conflicts that plagued the Red Bull team earlier in 2025. And we're talking about the driver swaps here between Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. That sort of dampened the spirit in the sister team a lot. Yeah, so I completely agree with what's being written here, because Laurent Mekies is not much of a showman. You know, he's a very humble little Frenchman. As you can see on the picture here, he has a bit of a goatee. And yeah, this is a picture taken after they sprayed the Red Bull all over each other after Max's win. As you can see, I'm doing that with Photoshop, but for some reason my Photoshop stopped on my Mac. So I installed it on my Windows Dell computer downstairs, but it was a different version. And I'm still learning how to use this much older version, if you know what I mean. Like Adobe products are pretty expensive. It was like 317 euros. So let me just say that I didn't pay that much. Right. So, I see Henk is on a bit of a rant. Let me see what he says. The 2023 Aston Martin was a contender at the start of the season while using the Mercedes wind tunnel, engine, gearbox, cassette, gearbox, chasing gear, and front suspension. Okay, but I did read that, Henk, that Aston Martin had problems with the wind tunnel and what it did on track of Mercedes wind tunnel, and that they're happy to use their own now. Thanks again, Vegas, for another super thanks. Yeah, have a great Saturday, and I do appreciate all your gifts. I feel a little guilty sometimes, but yeah, if you can't afford it, then don't do it. That's all I can say. Tanvir, you shouldn't say those things. You know, piracy is a crime. Arr. Okay, I'm going back to my papers. So there's better communication and more driver input than before. Mekies has enhanced the collaboration between drivers, engineers, and management. Verstappen highlighted how Mekies asks the engineers the right questions based on common sense. See, that's what a team needs: common sense. Christian Horner didn't have that. Which has improved understanding of the car's needs. This contrasts with previous shooting left and right approaches. Hey, that's what I just said. Marco echoed this, noting Mekies' focus on the sporting side of clearly defined roles, allowing technical experts to thrive without over interference. Obviously, Helmut Marko is happy that Horner is gone as well, but yeah, I see Laurent Mekies as somebody to really get along with. So his support for Yuki Tsunoda is there as well, because Tsunoda struggled when he was promoted to Red Bull, when he scored points in only 4 of the 14 races, and he has benefited from Mekies' mentorship at Racing Bulls. I mean, those guys know each other, Mekies and Tsunoda. Tsunoda qualified P7 in Belgium, and he's showing progress. And Mekies was the one that said that Yuki needed to get the upgrades quicker after he destroyed the floor a couple of races earlier, and he was constantly behind Max in the development upgrades. But yeah, he said, in Belgium, I want them to have completely the same car. And yeah, in the results that showed it a little bit. So Yuki is making progress race by race, and that's all thanks to Laurent Mekies. There's also a morale boost because it was a mess, and I can imagine that Red Bull wasn't a fun place to work with all the scandals and all the internal troubles. Um, Mackey's met as many people as possible when he took over, and he listened to all of them, listened to all their stories, and I suppose he did that to gain their trust, because despite all Christian Horner's flaws, he was very popular in the factory at Red Bull. They supported him all the way. So it's very important that the guy that took over from him doesn't become the bad guy. But for some reason, I don't think Mekies will be the bad guy. And especially if the results start coming back, then, everybody in the Red Bull garage and factories will have forgotten Christian Horner quickly enough. Yeah, there was a visit from Max Verstappen and a couple of other important people in Milton Keynes to see how far the Red Bull Powertrains department is. So yeah, that's all going well now. Right, I'm going back to the chat. Oh, Christina is here. Hi, Christina. Steve says Red Bull has gone from Christian shouting at Toto, I did enjoy that, to what now feels like a working team that want to race hard. Yeah, you're summing up exactly what I'm trying to get across this live stream. That the Christian Horner show is finished now, and now it's all about Red Bull and the racing again, and Max. Hank says, finally the pressure has lifted from the Red Bull team. That's also the influence of Mekies. Well, you know how nasty Sky Sports F1 always was in their approach to anything Red Bull related. I think with Laurent Mekies, that's gone. The only one that still likes to moan about Christian Horner getting sacked is Martin Brundle, because they are friends and they text each other. And every race now, Martin Brundle is gonna, point out that he got a text message from Christian Horner saying certain things. But sure, everybody deserves friends, and even if your friend is a bad guy, you're still friends, right? So, okay, what else have I got prepared? Chapter 3 is about the strategic progress for 2026 and beyond. Mekies has done a few changes in-house and accelerated the progress and preparations for the power unit for 2026. He did so with Ford, with the important people of Ford. The challenge is a big one. They call it the Mount Everest of challenges. But he's realistic, but he's still kind of optimistic about it. That they're hitting their targets, and a lot of people say, "Oh, Red Bull's going to be bad," but I don't think those experienced people that they plucked from all the other teams are going to deliver a bad engine. I can't imagine it. So there's a Red Bull Powertrains technical director called Ben Hodgkinson, and he's on track for his first test in January 2026. Mekies stressed that the Red Bull way of tackling big challenge. He said, "We have everything we need to cover the path as quickly as possible. Only Red Bull could build a power unit independently." And then the Ford CEO, Jim Farley, he said that Mekies is the right leader and he's praising the drama-free environment because Ford didn't like, all the stuff that was going on with Christian Horner either. Ford is a massive brand, and they want to look good, and Horner was making them look bad. Yeah, and Jim Farley realizes how important Max is, and I think if you wanna treat your talent well, if you have a legendary talent, then you need to nurture that and you know make sure that they have nothing to complain. Like, I think one of the reasons why Lewis Hamilton left after all these titles is because he didn't get a 2+1 contract and the ambassadorship that he wanted at Mercedes. That's one of the reasons why Ferrari took him away from there. They're all regretting that now, no doubt. But I think if Toto Wolff was a little bit more giving to Lewis Hamilton, he would have still been there, and they would have finished on a better note than how it went now. But anyway, that's none of my business what's happening at Mercedes. All I'm saying is that Red Bull is doing everything now to give Max whatever he wants to be successful again. Mekies, he likes stability. So, you know how Red Bull loved changing drivers mid-season and everything? I'm 100% convinced that the 4 drivers who are related to the Red Bull, they're going to sit this season out in the positions they are now, just for the sake of stability. And then Daniel Ricciardo might be back because he's a Ford ambassador, but he won't be back as a racer, just as an ambassador for the Ford brand, which is nice. Now, there's no delusions with Mekies. He said that it would be silly to expect them to be exactly at the same level as a manufacturer like Mercedes or Ferrari, who've been creating those engines or those types of engines for ages now. But yeah, there's 1,500 people working for Red Bull, and a lot of them are being plucked away from the other big teams. So these people know what they're doing. I'm sure they're going to be okay. Right. I'm going to read out. Hank says, with Brundle as a friend, you don't need enemies. I kind of like Brundle, but yeah. Steve says, also, as was the case in 2021, albeit with different regulations, Max is able to reduce wing levels that still keep him competitive compared to faster cars from other teams. That's true, because I think, didn't he get pole position because he had a smaller wing in Silverstone? And then in the race, obviously, that didn't work. And Christina says, I think Ferrari is going to be bad. So many personnel leaving. I read that as well. A couple of really big people left Ferrari. And then I'm thinking, why would you go to Audi? They're going to be shit next year. And then I realized that the technical department of the Audi team is going to be run by Mattia Binotto, who was a technical man at Ferrari. So he knows exactly who he's getting from the Ferrari team. And that makes kind of, the Audi team kind of hopeful for next season as well. Like, if I read all these hopeful news bits from all the different teams, then all the teams are going to be brilliant. But yeah, there's only one team that can win. So, but let's just hope that we'll see 6 or 7 different teams winning races. That would be awesome. Christina says, yeah, but the question is if it's an upgrade for Audi or a downgrade. Yeah, well, if these people have, better wages, and they believe in the project, the Audi project, working with Mattia Binotto, then yeah, I totally agree with them leaving and doing that new thing. And Tanvir says both Audi and Ferrari are also in other racing series. Yeah, they have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. Hank says, as always, even good personnel needs guidance. Under strict leadership, I don't see a problem. In World Endurance Racing, the Ferrari works team is managed by an independent race team. And Christina says, that's true, Hank. Well, everything Hank says is true. Okay. I've gathered some quotes from different drivers and staff. Because Mekies was very warmly received and he got a lot of public praise. And I'm going to read out a selection. Max Verstappen, Red Bull racing driver. Since Laurent has the technical background, he asks engineers the right questions. Questions based on common sense. I think this works very well. We didn't fully understand what needed to be done before, but now we are. He said this after the Italian GP. And he credits Laurent Mekies for the revival they're seeing now. And then Yuki Tsunoda, also a Red Bull driver, says, I'm just squeezing the performance out of the current package I got. I'm just pushing every single room that they gave me, and I'm pleased that I'm able to make progress race by race. That's what I'm working on. And this wouldn't be possible without the help of Laurent Mekies. Then Helmut Marko, the Red Bull Motorsport advisor, says, the transition went very well. Laurent is a judge of character. We fixed setup issues, and we also focused on setting up the car for the race. Max executed that brilliantly. So that was Helmut Marko praising Mekies' influence on technical and philosophical shifts. Then there's Jim Farley. He says Mekies is the right leader. The environment is much more drama-free, and that's helping the project. And Charles Leclerc, who worked with him at Ferrari. When I worked with Laurent, he understood people. I didn't have to speak much for him to understand how I felt. And he's highlighting how emphatic Laurent Mekies is, that he understands drivers, which is very important. And then Laurent Mekies had a few quotes about himself as well. And he says, the level of my contribution is 0. It's 1,500 people working on making the car faster. Our only role is to make sure that the talents we have are put in the right conditions to express that talent at best. And that was a very modest take on winning in Monza. He emphasized team effort, which is amazing. Yeah, it remains a very challenging job he has. And, like if they have 3 bad races now, then people will start making live streams with the opposite, saying that things were better when Christian Horner was there. But yeah, I'm a positive person, so I'm doing it this way. It's just nice to have an engineer there, and it's something you see at different teams as well. Like I believe Fred Vasseur was a technical guy before, and James Vowles was part of a technical team for Mercedes, and he's at Williams now. The little businessmen team principals, they're sort of old-fashioned now, and now it's all the technical guys that get the promotions. And I think it's kind of cool. Okay, I'm back at the chat. Yeah, they're gelling better. Right, people, this is all the content I had prepared So just throw in a few questions or topics or whatever. I can tell you that I just recorded a video about Max being in control of everything um, in his life and racing. So if you see me in a video the next, in a day or two with this shirt on, it's because I recorded it on the same day. It's not like I'm wearing this shirt. Wait a minute. It's not because I'm wearing this shirt 3 days in a row. I also want to point out that I finally recorded the podcast with Josh Revel and Mr. Pulse, the Ferrari versus McLaren podcast. And the podcast is called Wimbo's podcast, The Battle, but it was a battle to get the whole podcast organized because a while ago I made a post about this as well, but I want to talk about it. We organized it, say at the start of July, and Josh is in New Zealand, and it's 10 hours later there, right? So if we agree on 8 o'clock Dutch time in the evening, it's 6 o'clock in the morning for him. So I don't know, at the time we decided on a Friday night. At 8 o'clock Dutch time, which is 6 o'clock Saturday morning for him. So he made a mistake with setting his alarm and he slept in. But that was okay because Mr. Pulse discovered that his girlfriend had made an appointment for a restaurant that evening. So both of them sort of cancelled, which was lucky, because it's always nasty to let one person down who's there. Right, so yesterday we had the same thing planned, 8 o'clock Dutch time, which is 6 o'clock New Zealand time. And I said, right, guys, I hope the girlfriends are notified and alarms are set. And Josh Ravel said, my alarm is set. Brilliant. And Josh hadn't said anything for days. So I was already sort of moaning about it because I thought, Darren's going to stand me up. I'm going to sit here with Josh Revel, and he's not going to be there. And then 10 minutes before we started, got a message from Darren saying, "We're doing it with Riverside again, aren't we?" I said, "Yep, we are." So just about 8 o'clock, I sent out the link for the Riverside. Riverside is an app to record podcasts on, and it records in the cloud. So even if somebody's internet is kind of bad, you won't see it on the feed. So we're sitting waiting and talking away, about how bad the views are on YouTube lately, because there's very little interest in this season because it's kind of boring, and we sat there chatting for half an hour, and then a message popped up and he goes, "Oh boys, I messed up the time, so are you still on for the podcast?" And I said, "Sure, jump in. We've been talking for the last half an hour." So 10 minutes later, Josh popped into the stream, and he was lagging like crazy. We couldn't get a word out of him because it didn't work. And his internet in Auckland is just not good. And he says that for some reason Riverside doesn't work on his end. So he tried several things, cleaning browser history and all the options, but no, couldn't get it going. So I said, right, guys, do you want to give up then, or what are we going to do? Is there any other way we can record it? And then I used to do it on Skype, but Skype doesn't exist anymore either. And then I thought, hey, Discord has a video call system. So I opted that, and then Josh said, yeah, that's possible. And Darren from Mr. Paul said, yeah, that's possible. So we went into Discord. We had to find each other. So I don't know I don't know my username. I don't know my username. So that took about 10 minutes before we found each other. And then we were in a conversation together, but nobody could hear me. And Darren's audio was terrible. Now, as it turned out, I got my audio to work by pressing on the little microphone and then selecting this Yeti microphone. And I said, Darren, maybe you can fix your sound by going to the right microphone. And he did. And then finally, after, I don't know, 50 minutes later than we planned, we started recording. And I don't know, because we were all sort of worked up because it didn't work. It was a really cool podcast with 50 minutes of one guy slagging Ferrari and the other guy slagging McLaren. Exactly what the Battle podcast was intended for. So I've already edited it. Just need to render it, and then I'm thinking about uploading it for Monday. But I don't know a specific time yet. Right. What's happening in the chat? Hey, there's Marie. Oh, Marie's already also set her alarm. Setting her alarm for my live stream. And I'm just talking about your countryman, Marie. But Josh Ravel. Okay, let me see if I can get some interesting stuff out of here. Here's one from Ivan. Well, assigning right people to right roles is basically the only function of a manager, so Mekis is right. Well, that's true, but then this manager also knows about technical stuff, which helps. Lonely Cyclist, when is that battle video? I think Monday. I haven't decided yet. Steve has a question. Do you think Max was slightly restricted in what he could do outside of the team with Christian in charge? No, I don't think so. I think all the doors were wide open, even with Christian there. Max got his Nordschleife license now. Yeah, nice. Oh, Tanvir has a relationship question. It may be random, but I really need help. How do I handle rejection from the girl whom I loved? Well, this is a hard one. But, if she rejected you, then, she didn't feel the same for you as you do for her. And you don't want to be in a relationship like that. So basically, you need to find another girl. And I've learned over the years that the more carefree you are around women, the more they like it. So if you're all serious and intense, then women get wary. But if you're, easygoing, fun, and confident, and nice, then you have a better chance with women. I was very confident when I started to woo Samantha when she was working in the video shop in Lisburn in Northern Ireland. And I asked her out and she said no. And then 2 weeks later, I asked her out again and she said no. But then we met in a club on the other end of Northern Ireland, which was a big coincidence. And then, it happened. And we've been together ever since. So, so Tanvir, the right woman, is out there for you, and it sucks being rejected, but there's plenty of fish in the sea. That's my relationship advice. Mm-mm-mm. Oeh, Henk met another gold digger on Instagram. Yeah, don't trust the women on Instagram, Henk. You know, I I get these messages all the time from Russian singles in my neighborhood, but I never see them. Um, there's fibbing a bit. We need candlelight music. No, I'll get copyright claimed. Bum chicka wah wah. Oh, a lonely cyclist. It took me 28 years to find the right woman. Was married with her for 22 years. But are you not married anymore? Like, did you divorce, or did she pass away? Or, like, I don't want to pry, but I want to know. Marie is still looking. Oh, this is interesting. All this dating chat. But yeah, we've only got 8 minutes left. Oh dear, that's rough. Lonely cyclist. I'm so sorry to hear that. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's yeah, it's sad. I hope you're okay. Um, how about a poll? Who will win GP? Lando, Oscar, Max, other. Please. So yeah, because next week is race week again. So let's have a tiny little look forward to the Baku GP. Marie has a question. What happened to the Racing Bulls last race? Um, they both said that the car was feeling good, but the qualifying they didn't get the tires to warm up properly, and that's why they didn't get out of Q1. But little Isaac Hadjar, he made it into the points from the pit lane, which was very impressive. Yeah, and Liam Lawson, he's not there to make friends. And I'm sorry to say this, Marie, because he's your fellow countryman. But I think he's a little too rough around the edges without having the talent to get away with it. You know, like you can get away with crashing into drivers and ruin each other's races if you get a podium once in a while or something, or you beat your teammate. But yeah, all the things that happen to Liam Lawson is when he's fighting in P13 for P14, that sort of thing. Ivan says, I don't know why, but I think George is going to win in Azerbaijan. Well, George wins when Lando Norris doesn't finish. This has happened a couple of times. In Canada, George won, and Lando crashed into the back of George Russell. No, Oscar Piastri. And then in Austria last year, Max and Lando tangled, and Lando didn't make it to the finish, and George Russell won. So, Fibidabit thinks that Latifi is going to win. I don't think Latifi races anymore. Latifi. Yes. Let me Google that. Yeah, he's in London Business School. So. So how's the poll going? Has everybody done the poll I made? Because I'm gonna finish it in a minute. Hey Hank, I met the assistant of Lollipop Man, Nikki, in Zandvoort. So yeah, I talk to Lollipop Man sometimes on Patreon, and I especially loved when George Russell's teammates in Lollipop Man, they go, he turned into me, and then they start laughing. That's a good idea, Lonely Cyclist. We have talked about collaboration, but the Lollipop Man is a very secretive person. So I don't know what country he's from. I don't know how old he is. I know nothing about him, and he likes to keep it that way. So we talk in Patreon where you don't see each other, and yeah, he's just the Lollipop Man. And I met his assistant in Zandvoort, which is like a 22-year-old girl from the Czech Republic, and yeah, she was at the race, and she was meeting people. She had a meeting for Lollipop, which was interesting. She's a nice girl. She's the one that invented the. You know how Oscar Piastri only says Oscar. Well, she's the one that made the idea of him on a sort of meditation island, and over there he can express exactly what he thinks, what he feels. That was her idea, which is nice. Right, guys, it's almost 9 o'clock. I'm gonna stop the poll. 72% of you think Max is gonna win. 18% Oscar. Okay, there's people think that George is gonna win, and then there's Lando Norris. My favorite phrase from Lollipop Man was said by Fernando: "One small step for Ocon, one giant leap for Tsunoda." Yeah, that is brilliant. I love when Alonso outsmarts everybody and he goes, "Silly boys." Right. And on that note, I'm gonna bid you all a farewell. I hope to see you all in the comments of my videos, and hope to see you maybe in the premiere of the podcast that is going to be out probably Monday. I'm just trying to figure out a time where the people on Marie's end of the world, Oceania, are awake as well. But then, if I'm working, then I can't be in the chat for the premiere. So, yeah, mate. So I'm gonna find a good moment. And tomorrow you can expect the Max Verstappen video. Right, everybody. Take care now. Doei doei.